Hello students, welcome to FS Cloud. My name is Shashmita. We have an app by the name Careers Cloud which you can go and download through the Play Store. Once you have downloaded the application, you will easily be able to log in using your Gmail ID. And once you have logged in, you will be redirected to this page where you will be getting this URL. And there will be option for home, all courses, my courses and down section in this application. You will be getting multiple PDFs, multiple content on daily basis that will be enhancing your learning. Under Crack Current Affairs, you will be able to see multiple options. First one is Current Affairs English. We upload the day-to-day basis news in the English format. And apart from English PDF, we also provide them in Hindi format. And this Banking Awareness, we upload a PDF every month. So this PDF will contain the banking news, banking and the finance news of. So this PDF will contain the banking news, banking and the finance news of that respective month. And current affairs exam PDF will have two categories. One is that most important news of that particular month will be uploaded in this current affairs exam PDF, and also exam perspective PDF will also be uploaded. If you see for SBI PO, RRB or RBI, all in all these, next is special CA. This will contain union budget, economic survey, and also the most important events that had taken place globally as well as nationally. Like for example, G20 events, Olympics. And next most important is topic wise. So the entire news of that particular month will be segregated into different topics like obituary. Next, and in order to recollect whatever you've read, we also provide you with topic wise quizzes. Apart from that, we also provide state current affairs. Now, here if you see, we provide you with the day-to-day PDF, and this we provide you with the weekly PDF. So that particular week news will be compiled into a PDF and in question and answer format in English, and will be uploaded here. And to enhance your learning, you can also, to enhance and strengthen your learning, you can also attend the quiz. Here we provide you with the entire news of that particular week. But here we provide you with the entire news of that particular week. But here we take the top 60 most important news and we upload it in this PDF in question and answer format. Apart from weekly, we also provide you the monthly ones. This PDF will contain detailed view of that particular month news, and this will have a brief format of the same news. This will be in the form of a question and answer format, and this will have the top 100 question and answer of that particular month. We also provide you with the PIB news on a day-to-day basis, which you can go and read in these particular tabs. Apart from that, we also provide the union budget and economic survey. You can also after reading the PDF, you can also go and attend the quiz. This is available in the special CA category. We also provide state level current affairs. So this will be very helpful for students who are preparing for state level exams. For example, if you are preparing for Tamil Nadu state level exams, then you can click this tab and you will be able to see all the current affairs or news related to Tamil Nadu. Apart from that, we also provide PDF from the exam perspective. Suppose you are preparing for RBI Assistant Mains, then this tab will contain 5 to 6 months of current affairs, which has high probability of being asked in RBI Assistant Mains. Similarly, for SBI PO, RRB PO, Clerk Mains, all these are being given under this section. And also, we provide separate content-wise, topic-wise current affairs like national affairs, government schemes, international affairs, banking and finance, economy and businesses, MOUs, and committees and meetings. All these different types of news are segregated in these particular categories. Hello students, welcome to our new initiative. In this initiative, we will be uploading the weekly current affairs on banking and finance section. So this will be uploaded on every Monday. And so on the whole, per month, you will have totally 4 videos related to this topic. And apart from just providing you with the banking and finance news, we also provide you the conceptual explanation so that this will enhance and also strengthen your knowledge about these topics. Today, we will be covering November 2nd week banking and finance awareness news. Moving to the first news. The first news is about the report that's been released by RBI. So RBI has released the 43rd half-yearly report on management of foreign exchange reserves. So this foreign exchange reserves includes the foreign currency, gold, and also the SDR, the special drawing rights that's been issued by the IMF. So all these are a part of this foreign exchange reserves. So RBI released this report every 6 months to track the status of the foreign exchange and also to let know the public that what is the current status of the foreign exchange of the country. So on 29th October 2024, the Reserve Bank of India released the 43rd half-yearly report from April to September 2024. So this report tells as on September 2024 what is the foreign exchange reserve value. So as per the report, India's foreign exchange reserve position as on 18th October 2024 was projected at $688 billion, of which $598 billion is in foreign currency assets. This includes dollar and pound, euro, yen, and also Chinese currency renminbi. So this all together forms this foreign currency assets. Then gold worth of 67.44 billion, special drawing rights of worth 18.27 billion, and reverse transposition of worth 4.32 billion. So this is the breakup of the 688 billion foreign exchange reserve. So who publishes this report? The Department of External Investment and Operations under the RBI publishes the half-yearly reports on the foreign exchange reserves to enhance transparency and levels of disclosure. The report has two parts, of which first part provides information regarding the movement of foreign exchange reserves, while the other part of the report provides information on objectives of reserve management, statutory provision, risk management practices, and all these are provided in the second part. So according to the RBI's latest half-yearly report, foreign exchange reserves has increased from 646 billion as on 31st March 2024 to 705 billion as on 30th September 2024. The report showed India's foreign exchange reserve on balance of payment basis excluding valuation effect. So what is this valuation effect? So we know that the gold was stored in the month of March and also in the month of September. But the same amount of gold, the same tons of gold which was stored in March and which was stored in September does not have the same value, right? The value, though the quantity is the same, but the value is not the same. Why? Because gold has appreciated. Whatever the value of gold in the month of March was not the same in the month of September. The value has increased. That is what this valuation effect talks about. Not just gold, even for the other currency like dollar also. Dollar's value on 31st March was different from 30th September 2024. So this is the valuation effect that they are talking about. If they include the valuation effect, then the foreign exchange reserve has increased by $5.2 billion against the increase of $244.4 billion during the same period, that is from April to June 2024. When you include the valuation effect, then it has increased from $5.6 billion against the $16.6 billion during the same period. Next is RBI report revealed that the India's net international investment position. So what is this net international investment position? This is nothing but this is the difference between the Indians holding asset outside India and other outside people holding asset in India. This is the difference. So how much asset India owns outside India, abroad, and how much asset does outside people, that is outside India people, own assets in India. This is the difference. This is reported in the net international investment position. So the net international investment position as on 30th June 2024 was negative at $368 billion compared to negative net IIP of $379 billion as on 30th June 2023. This indicates that the sum of all external liabilities is more compared to the external assets, which means that the outside people own more assets compared to Indian people owning assets outside. So I hope you understand that we have that people outside India, they have more assets in India compared to Indians having assets outside India. So we have more liabilities than more assets. That is why this negative value. So as on 30th June 2024, foreign exchange cover of import was 11.2 months compared to 11.3 months on 31st March 2024. So if you see, the foreign exchange reserves that we hold can cover an import of 11.2 months. So as per the report, the RBI held total of 854 metric ton of gold as on 30th September 2024, of which 510 metric tons of gold were held domestically. So the other gold, that is around 350 or something, the remaining tons of gold, it is located in England, Bank of England, and also Bank for International Settlement. The next news is RBI makes 6 amendments in the KYC direction. What is this KYC? KYC is know your customer. So before onboarding any customer, the banking system or the banks, they have to know about their customer completely. They have to get the identity proof, they have to get the address proof, and apart from getting the address proof and identity proof, they also should cross check with the authentic site to ensure that the ID proof and address proof are not fake. So these are the various due diligence that the banking system must do before onboarding the customer. So the Reserve Bank of India has introduced 6 amendments to the Master Direction Know Your Customer with effect from November 6, 2024. So why have they released this? This is to align with the recent amendments to the prevention of money laundering and also to revise the certain existing instructions. These amendments have been introduced. So the 6 amendments, among the 6, the first one is customer acceptance policy. So a regulated entity must apply customer due diligence at the unique customer identification code level itself. So before assigning a customer identification code level, the proper customer due diligence should be done. It should not be done after the assigning of this identification code. So existing KYC compliant customers, they can open new accounts or access additional services without undergoing a new CDD process. So once it is done, they can use all the services. So before doing this, before assigning an account, proper CDD must be done. Next is high risk accounts monitoring. So definition of high risk accounts has been clarified to emphasize that these accounts require intensified monitoring. So if you go and open an account, like in case of regulated entities, for politically exposed persons and all, they will have high risk assigned to that customer, so that they monitor the accounts even more than they monitor for the low risk accounts. So if there is any normal person who's working as an maybe as an employee in a company and all, they will have only low risk. But for politically exposed person, they will have high risk, though, so that keen monitoring, intense monitoring takes place. So that is what they're telling, that the definition of high risk accounts has been clarified to emphasize that these accounts require intense monitoring. Next is the term periodic updation replaces updation for clarity regarding the timing and process for updating customer KYC details. So what happens? First, the customer goes to the bank and the bank gets the KYC details from the customer, creates an account number and then gives it to the customer. So is the process that's it? It is done forever? No. This KYC must be updated on a regular basis, which means that for if you see, the KYC updation period is different for low risk, for medium risk and for high risk customer. So the period of KYC updation is different for different type of customer. So why this has to be done? Because the customer might change his address, might change his phone number, something like that. So for that, an address proof must be taken. So a regular updation of this KYC is required even after creating the account number. Next is KYC records and CKYC. So regulated entities must update the KYC data for individual and legal entities with the central KYC record registry within 7 days of receiving new information. CKYCR will notify all reporting entities about these updates. Now, what is the CKYCR? So the central Know Your Customer Record Registry is a centralized repository of customer identification information for the financial sector in India. Say suppose you visit a bank A. You go there to create an account. So you have given the KYC and you have created the account. So what the bank will do, this bank will store this KYC in the CKYC register. So this CKYC is maintained by an agency called CERSAI. So CERSAI is Central Registry of Securitization and Asset Reconstruction and Security Interest of India, which manages the CKYC. So each CKYC, that is each KYC of the customer, will be assigned a 14-digit identification number. So it will be unique. So it will be assigned a 14-digit identification number. Now you go and visit another bank B, because a customer can open multiple accounts in multiple banks, right? So a customer goes and visits an bank B. Then again he wants to open an account. What happens is the process does not start from the first step. What happens is now this bank will access the CKYC registry after the consent from you, and from that CKYC it will open the account. So this process will reduce, one step will reduce in this process, and this CKYC can be accessed across various financial sector. So if you see, not just banks, mutual funds, banks, insurance company and pension scheme, all these can access your CKYC after your consent. So through this process, it becomes easy to verify a customer before onboarding them. So this CKYC works by assigning a unique CKYC identifier to clients after they submit their KYC details once with a reporting entity. Next, changes in UAPA procedure. So the designation of the central nodal officer under the unlawful activities has been changed from additional secretary to joint secretary, reflecting an administrative update. Next is the terminology update. Throughout the master direction, references to section have been replaced with paragraph for consistency in legal language. So these are the various amendments made by RBI. We have launched a new course called Static Banking Awareness course. Now this course will be helpful for students who are preparing for the banking exams and for the regulatory body exams. And also recently you would have seen Paytm Bank in news frequently. So when an aspirant reads this news, he would have ample number of questions like what is a payment bank, what are the norms for it, and which is the committee that has launched it. So this Static Banking Awareness course lays a foundation to the current banking and finance news. Now, you have to download our Careers Cloud to access this course. Once you have logged into our app, you can go and click this All Courses icon, and then you'll be redirected to this page. In this, you have to go and click the Static Banking Awareness course, and under the Details tab, you will be able to see a brief about this course. And under the Part tab, it will contain all the contents, all the topics of the contents that are currently available in this course. We are working on this continuously, and this will be completed within 2 months. Under the Free tab, you can go and access one content, that is the origin and development content, for free. You can go and read this content and have an idea about this course. After reading this content, do attend the quiz that is also available under the same tab. Now, our team has allocated ample amount of time and resources to curate this content. We have created this content from various books and from various verified websites. Our content is better than any book that is available in the market. This is because we update this content on a dynamic basis. For example, there are currently 39 DRTs that are available in the country now. In future, if one more DRT is created or added, then it would become 40. So we would update this content on a dynamic basis. But in case of books, you have to wait for the next publication for this updated content. Nowadays, a lot of practical questions have been asked in the banking exams. For example, how many public sector banks are available on the stock exchange? Which is the payment bank that is being listed on the stock exchange? So we try to cover as many practical questions as possible in this course. Apart from this, we also provide you a question bank that will contain around 3,000 questions and the previous year questions along with it. We also have a dedicated tab that will release the important RBI notification and the frequent news released by the RBI. You can use this code B15 to avail 15% discount. This is one of the highest discounts that we have offered until now. So do avail this code B15 while you purchase the course. Next is RBI sets rupees 300 crore net worth criteria for the entity applying for the central counterparty authorization. The Reserve Bank of India announced that any entity seeking authorization or recognition as central counterparty should have at least net worth of rupees 300 crore at the time of submitting its application. Now, what is this CCP? So, CCP, if you see, it comes in between the buyer and seller of the trading system. See, if this CCP does not exist, then directly the buyer and the seller will exist, where the buyer will buy the securities from the seller and seller will sell the securities to the buyer and get the money in return, right? Why does this CCP have to exist? Directly the buyer and seller can exist, right? Why? Because in case the seller tells that, okay, I will sell the securities, but the buyer does not give the money to the seller. In that case, the seller will be in loss, right? So, to avoid this, CCP comes into play. It will ensure that the transaction is completed by crediting the securities in the buyer account and by crediting the amount, the money in the seller account. So, in case a CCP, it comes in between the buyer and the seller. So, for this buyer, this CCP is the seller. And for this seller, this CCP is the buyer. This is the role of the CCP, to ensure that the trade is completed even if the buyer or the seller fails to pay their part. So, CCP is a system provider that uses Novation to interpose between the system participants in the transactions admitted for settlement. So, what are the various conditions that the RBI have brought? So, mandatory submission of audited net worth. So, we saw that the net worth should be 300 crores and there should be a mandatory submission of this audited net worth. So as per the revised regulation, every authorized CCP has been mandated to submit an audited net worth certificate at the end of the financial year from the statutory audit within 6 months of the closure of the financial year. So 31st March is the closure of the financial year. So within that 6 months you have to provide the audited certificate, then only you will be allowed to operate further. Next is public company limited by shares. According to RBI direction, the authorized CCP must be a public company limited by shares, and the shares of the authorized CCP must be held by those persons who uses its service. If those person they fail to use the service or they fail to become, they ceases to become the user, then the CCP is required to ensure that the person share are divested. So it has to be public limited company limited by shares, and the shares of an authorized CCP must be held by only those person who uses its services. And if the person does not use the service, does not become a user anymore, that is he stopped using its service, then that person's share must be divested. Next is approval for foreign CCP. A foreign CCP is required to apply to the RBI for approval as a recognized CCP for its operations, including clearing and settlement in India. Clearing and settlement in the meaning that the entire settlement should take place. That is, the CCP should ensure that the buyer, for the buyer, the shares are credited to his demat account, and for the seller, the money is credited to his account. So this is the entire settlement process. So for applying for the CCP, it has to include even clearing and settlement operation. Next is composition of the board. So as per the RBI revised direction, the board of every authorized CCP is required to include nominee directors, independent directors, managing directors, and such directors as may be specified by the RBI from time to time. Next is formation of compliance committee. It is mandatory for every authorized CCP to constitute a regulatory compliance committee of the board, which should be chaired by the independent director. So there should be a compliance committee, and that compliance committee should be chaired by the independent directors. So these are the various regulations that have been brought by the RBI. The next news is about an appointment. RBI approves reappointment of Amitabh Chaudhry as the MD and CEO of Axis Bank for 3 years. So his reappointment term will be effective from 1st January 2025 and it will end on 31st December 2027. He had joined Axis Bank as the MD and CEO on 1st January 2019 after having spent over 9 years at the HDFC Standard Life Insurance Company. Next news is about AT1 bonds. So SBI raises 5,000 crore via additional Tier 1 bonds at 7.98%. Now this additional Tier 1 bonds is used to enhance the capital of your bank. So this is part of the common equity Tier 1. So this is a stable capital of the banks or of the banks. So the SBI has raised rupees 5,000 crore through its first Basel III compliant additional Tier 1 bond issuance for the current fiscal year, that is financial year 2025, at a coupon rate of 7.98%. Usually, these additional Tier 1 bonds are perpetual bonds, but they have a call option attached to it. So tenure of these SBI's AT1 bonds is perpetual with call option after 10 years, which means after 10 years, the SBI has the right to buy back the bond from the investors. So if the SBI wants to buy back the bonds from the investors, then the investors has to sell the bond to the SBI. So call option means the bond issuer has the right to buy back the bond from the investor after certain years. In this case, it is 10 years. The participants were from Provident Funds. So who all bought these bonds? So the participants are from Provident Funds, pension funds, insurance company, mutual funds and NBFCs. So usually these A21 bonds, they are quite risky bonds. That is why they come with a higher interest rate as well. So they are not issued to public. They are issued to QIB. They are issued to QIB. They are issued to participants who have high financial structure and also have high risk appetite. Only to these participants they are issued. So in this case, it is PF funds, pension funds, insurance company, NBFC. So the bonds, they are rated AA plus with a stable outlook from CRISIL ratings and CARE ratings. The AT1 bonds, they are debt instruments that are issued by the banks to raise money and shore up the capital base. The next news is ADB issues first biodiversity and nature bond worth $100 million. The Asian Development Bank has issued this bond to fund vital conservation projects across Asia and Pacific. The bond issuance, purchased by Japan-based Dai-ichi Life Insurance Company Limited and arranged by France-based Credit Agricole, marks a significant step in ADB's commitment to advancing sustainable development. Remember the amount, it is $100 million, which is raised by ADB. So it provides investors a secure option also, because these bonds are backed by AAA credit rating, which is a very good credit rating. So as a founding partner of the Coral Triangle Initiative since 2009, ADB has contributed to preserving one of the world's most vital marine ecosystem. Now, what is this Coral Triangle Initiative? So, Coral Triangle Initiative is the partnership between 6 countries in the Asia-Pacific region to protect the marine and coastal resources of the Coral Triangle. In 2023, ADB launched the Nature Solutions Finance Hub and Nature Capital Fund with the Global Environment Facility, supporting innovative conservation efforts. And also, ADB is preparing to launch its Environment Action Plan 2024-30 towards a nature positive Asia and the Pacific. So these many steps have been taken by ADB to improve the ecosystem of the world, to improve the environment of the world. Next is RBI approves Pranav Chadha as the CEO of JP Morgan Chase Bank India. So he joined JP Morgan in 2019 as the head of client banking and specialized industries, focusing on mid-sized companies based in India. So remember the name, it is Pranav Chadha, and he will be the CEO of JP Morgan Chase Bank. Next is IFC invests $400 million in India. So the USA-based International Finance Corporation, a member of the World Bank Group, will provide a $400 million loan to Pune-based Bajaj Finance Limited, a leading NBFC. So where will this $400 million will be put in use by the Bajaj Finance Limited? It will be put in use to finance for electric vehicles and energy efficient consumer goods in India. So remember the amount, it is $400 million invested in Bajaj Finance by IFC. Tata AIG launches 5 new health insurance riders. So these insurance riders will include coverage for mental well-being, outpatient department expense, female health care, cancer care, and unlimited restoration of the sum insured. The next news is about a report that's been released by ADB, and this report tells us how much loss the entire world will face due to climate change. So Asian Development Bank's report titled Asia Pacific Climate Report, Catalyzing Finance and Policy Solutions. It has stated that climate change under a high-end emission scenario could potentially lead to 16.9% loss in the GDP by 2017 across the Asia-Pacific region, with India projected to witness a 24.7% GDP decline. And it has further estimated that Asia-Pacific will experience a 41% loss in GDP by 2100. So remember, by 2070, Asia-Pacific may lose 16.9% in GDP, and in case of India it is 24.7, almost 25%, and in case by 2100 in Asia Pacific it will raise to 41%. The report has cautioned that if the climate crisis continues to accelerate, then up to 300 million people in the region would be at risk from coastal inundation, and trillions of dollars worth of coastal assets would face annual damage by 2070. So if you see, like this percentage or this percentage can be asked, like 25% and 17%. Apart from this, this is a very good data that can be used in a climate change. If an essay about climate change has been asked, then this is a very good data that can be used there to substantiate your answer. The report highlighted that developing Asia has accounted for most of the increase in the global greenhouse gas emissions since 2000. So since 2000, the developing Asia is the main reason for the increase in the GHG emissions, while developed economies were major GHG emitters throughout the 20th century. So initially, if you see, it was the developed countries, and now the reason is going, they are pointing figures to the developing Asia. So this increase was mainly driven by increasing domestic consumption, energy demand, and production for developed economies. China accounted for nearly 66% of this increase, following by South Asia 19.3% and Southeast Asia 15.4%. So China is the major cause or major contributor to this greenhouse gas emission currently. So what are the key recommendations by the ADB report? So it has estimated that regional countries require annual investment. So without money, we cannot go towards the renewable energy sector, right? So we need a lot of investment if we want to improve the climate scenario of the entire world. So a lot of investment is required for climate change adaptation, that is between $102 billion and $431 billion, which is more than nearly $34 billion. So now if you see, we are just collecting, or just $34 billion are being mobilized for this climate change purpose. But what we actually need is between $102 billion and $431 billion. So there's a huge change between what is the current scenario and what is the ideal scenario. So this report has outlined that carbon pricing is critical to reducing emission cost effectively. Now what is this carbon pricing? Carbon pricing is a mechanism that assigns a cost to greenhouse gas emissions and ties that cost to that emitter. So by tying that cost to that emitter, the emitter will know that how much he is damaging the environment, and also he will be ensuring that he doesn't do it further. The emitter already knows that he is causing damage to the environment, but he doesn't know that how much. By assigning this, he will know the value of damage that he is giving to the environment, and also by attaching this value, a dent in the profit will be occurred. That is, his profit will be lowered because this carbon pricing attachment. So now he will be cautious to change his path towards renewable energy from non-renewable energy. So this is why this carbon pricing is very important, that has to be practiced. Thank you for watching the session. I hope you had enjoyed it. We're also available in Telegram under the name AffairsCloud_official. We also have an Instagram handle. Apart from this, you can contact us directly on 9677333862 regarding any courses that we offer, or regarding any payment issues. You can contact directly on this number. Thank you.